what happened was he was cutting weight. If you saw him yesterday, he was very, very lean already, and he should have come in on weight. He started to cut weight, and he started locking up and cramping and all the things that happen when you're bad, that are from a bad cut.
Good day, fight fans, and welcome back to Pressure Point. Dana White just pulled one of his coldest moves yet, slashing multiple fighters from the UFC roster out of nowhere. The timing, way too suspicious to ignore. We'll break down exactly who got axed soon. But while that chaos unfolds, two legends, Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz, just scored a multi-million-dollar lawsuit win that could shake the entire fight game forever. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Now picture this. You wake up, check your phone, and boom, you're jobless. Your name's wiped off the UFC site, and the internet's blowing up asking what happened. That's exactly what hit a bunch of fighters when Dana White decided to clean house overnight. Meanwhile, Masvidal and Diaz walked out of arbitration, holding millions after claiming a boxing promoter straight up didn't pay them what they were owed. These two stories might look separate, but together, they scream one thing. The power in MMA is shifting fast. When a promoter can dump you overnight, and two OGs can drag someone to court and win big, every fighter starts wondering where the real control lies. Fans are already fighting online about whether Dana's cuts were about poor performances, big paychecks, or both. But here's the wild new twist. If Masvidal and Diaz can legally force payment, what's stopping other fighters from doing the same? The vibe in MMA right now is electric, tense, and unpredictable. Every headline feels like it's part of a bigger wave of change that's crashing through the sport. And this drama doesn't just end with one press release or tweet. It keeps rolling into the next week, the next card, maybe even the next batch of contracts.
Do you think we'll be seeing you fighting regularly now?
The reason I was off is because everybody sucked. There was nobody to fight. Jorge Masvidal had a good last fight.
Now, let's dig into Masvidal's situation, because on the surface it sounds simple, but underneath, it's chaos. He says he fought, promoted, showed up, did everything by the book, but the promised money never showed up. So he took it to arbitration, kind of like court, but quicker, and handled by a neutral decision maker. After looking at all the contracts, messages, and dates, the arbitrator sided with Masvidal, and the payout, massive. We're talking millions for work he already did. Masvidal didn't brag or show off after the win. He just sounded relieved. If you followed his grind, you know the man's been through it all. Short notice fights, brutal matchups, and late nights hustling to sell cards so fans would tune in. Getting a victory like this outside the cage is rare, and it proves one thing loud and clear. When a contract's written right, it still matters. It also reminds everyone that the fight doesn't end when the bell rings. There's promo money, back-end deals, and all those we'll pay later promises that sometimes never come through. But this time, Jorge fought back and actually got what he earned.
Jorge, so this is now 1-1, but you have so many different options, right? You have mixed martial arts, you have boxing, possibly something else. Do you know how you would want to do the rubber match with Nate Diaz? Where would you like to have it?
Definitely boxing. I guess call me a sore loser, and I'd want to do boxing, and if he wants to do MMA after that, we could do it, but definitely want to do boxing over everything, you know?
When one veteran makes it happen, every fighter in the locker room pays attention. You can bet on that. And just when the MMA world was still buzzing about that, boom, another star lands the same kind of win. Nate Diaz. His case mirrors Masvidal's, but with his own raw twist. Nate's not the type to throw around fancy legal talk. He keeps it simple. We had a deal. Pay what you owe. That's it. His arbitrator sided with him too, handing Diaz an even bigger payout and even putting heat on the promoter's top exec to cover part of it. That's major, because now it's not just the company feeling pressure, it's the person running it. For Diaz, this isn't just about the cash, it's about respect. He's built his name with blood, sweat, and chaos. Years of wild fights, viral moments, and die-hard fans who trust every word he says. So when he calls out a promoter for crossing the line, people believe him. The ruling backs him up, but there's still a catch. Both Diaz and Masvidal's awards need a federal judge's stamp to make them official. That step's usually a formality, but not always.
Stat line showed that Jorge was up on all the strikes landed. If they said Jorge won, I would have been like, yeah. I mean, they said Nate won. I could see that perspective too. It was such an evenly matched fight. I don't know. It's a fucking draw.
For less. But Nate's been in long battles before. He knows how to play the waiting game. He can push, he can hold, and when that final approval hits, it's going to send a message across the whole sport. Broken promises have a price, and fighters are finally cashing in. But that's not the only headline shaking the fight world right now. Because while all this courtroom chaos is playing out, Dana White has been chopping names off the UFC roster. And the timing couldn't be more suspicious. When people hear fighter cuts, they think it's just about losing streaks. But that's only part of it. The roster's massive, and matchmakers are always planning months ahead. Fighters who miss weight, lose focus, or can't make it to the cage on time. It all adds up. On the latest cut list, fans saw names that once had hype but lost momentum. A few had back-to-back losses that killed their buzz. One struggled to make weight and balance the schedule, and another looked off after a long layoff. It's a harsh sport, and the UFC doesn't wait around. But what really stood out was how fast the cuts came. Fans barely had time to finish arguing about the last event before new exits were announced.
There's a conversation after the weigh-ins now of who missed weight. It's not a matter of, hey, did anybody miss weight? And it used to be when somebody would miss weight, this would be the headline breaking news. 10%, that hurts. That's gonna hurt anybody, 10%. It's gonna hurt, but you also understand where that's a varying scale?
That speed says a lot. It shows the UFC wants freedom to move quick. With a packed year ahead full of stars switching divisions, chasing belts, and demanding main event money, anyone not climbing is expendable. The moment your name hits that call sheet, you feel it. The pressure, the risk, the uncertainty. Still, even in all that chaos, there's a different kind of strength at the top, and dropping into this storm, like a wrecking ball. Alex Pereira. He doesn't talk much, but when he does, every word hits hard. He's been hearing all the chatter, excuses, injuries, what ifs, and he's not having it. Pereira just shrugs it off, says he's fought through worse. Broken ribs, sore everything. Welcome to the club. That's his whole vibe, pure toughness. He even told people he'd drop the scans and medical records if anyone doubted him. His message couldn't be clearer. This is a brutal job, and everyone's hurting. The ones who win are the ones who show up, take the hits, and still handle business.
Alex Pereira kicked my leg. I was like, this shit hurts.
That dude has the weirdest leg kicks. They're so sneaky.
My cousin had the greatest analogy for Pereira. He goes, he is Thanos. Literally just collecting stones.
Fans love that old school grit, and it's lighting a fire under anyone who dares to come for his belt. If you're signing up to fight Pereira, you better be ready to carry pain, pressure, and pure intensity. He keeps knocking out world-class strikers, and even when grapplers drag him down, he stays cool, fights off the cage, pops back up, and starts throwing bombs again. That aura he's building, it's more than power. It's mental steel. It's what separates him from the pack. And that unshakable energy matters when the UFC decides who gets cut, who gets pushed, and who gets paid. But behind all that chaos, there's another layer. The business side quietly changing behind the curtains.
It's a super fight, but what's it for? When you get those great names like him and Jones, you want it to be for something. So yes, 205-pound fight between him and John Jones would be amazing. And it gets rid of the idea that Jones is afraid of Tom Aspinall.
The fight world runs on contracts and fine print most fans never see. Pages of clauses, media deals, and sneaky bonus structures. All shaping who fights, when they fight, and what they earn. When Masvidal or Diaz win big against a promoter, people might brush it off saying, that's boxing, not UFC. Sure, technically, but the ripple effect hits everyone in the fight game. Now fighters are whispering, comparing notes, realizing how risky those side gigs and outside deals can really get. Managers are watching every line in their contracts, knowing one mistake can land them in a courtroom. Meanwhile, in the UFC, staying ready is survival. You keep your phone on, your weight tight, and your name clean, because the company wants stability on fight week and fireworks on fight night. That's how it works. Make things easy for the UFC, and they'll keep you in the mix. Miss weight, skip media, or show up late. Your leash gets short fast, but if you show up sharp, pull off a viral knockout, sell tickets, and make noise, You become the kind of fighter matchmakers never forget. In this game, you're not just fighting opponents, you're fighting for momentum. And that's what makes this moment in MMA so wild. Legal wins, brutal cuts, new contracts. It's all colliding at once. Inside the UFC offices, you can bet every manager and matchmaker is crunching numbers and planning the next move. Because in this sport, anything can flip overnight. A promoter can claim they're broke. A judge can tweak a ruling. A fighter can get injured and kill a pay-per-view. Or a rival can swoop in and steal the spotlight. That's why every team in the business has backup plans on deck. Because chaos is part of the game. And the next twist always hits faster than anyone expects. If a promoter tries to stall a payout, the fighter can hit back hard, push for enforcement, and make sure that money lands where it should. If a company tries cutting corners, the fighter's camp can take it public and let the fans crank up the pressure. And if a fighter keeps missing weight or bailing late, the UFC doesn't hesitate. They move on fast and hand that spot to someone hungry and ready. The fight game learns and adapts. And that's exactly what keeps MMA so addictive. It's pure chaos that somehow finds rhythm right at the buzzer. Every Saturday night, fans tune in for one story and end up getting 5 they never saw coming. That's the moment we're in right now. We came looking for a clean headline about fighter cuts and court wins, but instead got a front row look at how power really moves through the sport. And threading through all that noise, one name that refuses to fade: Justin Gaethje. When a legend says Gaethje hits the hardest, that's not some shiny trophy, that's a warning label. Gaethje just laughs it off, says, "That's cool," then reminds everyone he still lost that fight. That's why fans love him. No fake talk, no excuses, just truth. When a quarter of a country tunes in for one of his fights, it shows just how massive MMA has become and how much pressure lands on one man's shoulders every time he steps in the cage. That kind of spotlight builds stars and breaks nerves. It changes everything. Paydays, matchups, even who gets the call when a champ needs a dance partner. When someone like Gaethje speaks, young fighters listen. They get the message. Your hands can be dynamite, but if the scoreboard isn't in your favor, none of it matters. Wins open doors, losses close them. The moments you create keep you in the room, but living that truth is tougher than it sounds. The recent cut list proves it. The courtroom victories prove it. The MMA schedule doesn't wait for anyone, and now even the commentary booths becoming part of the story. Every time the UFC travels across the world, the crew changes. New voices pop up calling the chaos live. Whether it's Abu Dhabi, Rio, or Vegas, that shift always sparks debate. But it shows how big the machine really is. The UFC's not just an event anymore. It's a global show with stories flying from city to city, week after week. With all that growth come new rules and old laws being dusted off for review. If certain regulations move forward, promoters might face new boxes to check, and fighters could gain new protections. Some people cheer it, others worry it'll slow business down. But either way, it's setting the stage for the next era. Because when you stack shifting commentary teams, evolving legal rules, and a non-stop schedule, you get an ecosystem that rewards the ones who adapt the fastest. Fighters who stay disciplined, keeping their weight tight, health steady, and timing perfect, will keep landing spots and paychecks. Those who can't keep up, they'll be watching from home. And speaking of watching, one rivalry that started quietly in the gym is now exploding into the public eye. Back then, gym drama stayed private. Not anymore. Now, one shove in sparring turns into a viral clip, and one disrespectful comment in a group chat becomes a headline. When a champion hears someone cross the line about a teammate's home or culture, it doesn't just fade, it sticks. And when those same fighters end up in the same space again, you can feel the tension instantly. That's what's happening now between some top-tier names who used to share mats. One says the other better, be careful, after a heated exchange, while the other insists it was all a misunderstanding. It's messy, but it sells. Fans crave real beef, not the scripted back and forth. The challenge is keeping that fire from turning into something dumb outside the cage. That's why commissions, teams, and sponsors all keep a close eye on it. The fighters who manage to stay professional while still bringing that raw heat to fight week, they're the ones who last. That's why you'll see calm, composed interviews, and then pure mayhem when the cage door closes. It's controlled rage. And when that balance holds, it wins championships. Soon, We'll get the matchup that settles all the talk in one night. And while strikers and wrestlers keep arguing over who dominates, another collision of styles is quietly building. One that could shift an entire division's future, when a slick, technical striker meets a relentless pressure grappler. The first clinch sets the tone. If the striker slips out and lands clean, the grappler's forced to reset. But if the grappler gets that body lock early, the striker's in for a long night on the mat. That's why fans are asking one burning question. Can one of the best strikers in the game stop a champion's relentless chain wrestling for 5 whole rounds? Some say yes, pointing to recent fights where takedowns got stuffed and the striking stole the night. Others say no, claiming the champ's timing is too sharp and his grip too dangerous. But the truth, it's buried in the grind. You can't fake cardio, balance, or heart. And that's exactly why veterans are giving mad respect to those daring to move up in weight and still chase gold. They're risking it all for legacy. And that's what keeps MMA so damn alive. They know exactly what it takes to move up divisions. Less comfort, more danger, and zero room for hesitation. If the striker keeps the fight standing past round 3, those power shots start to land like thunder. But if the grappler drags it to the mat, everything slows down, and the clock turns into the enemy. Either way, someone's stock is about to explode. And that brings us full circle to the bigger picture. When you stack it all up, you see a sport that never sits still. Fighters win in the cage. And sometimes, they win in court too. Promoters build massive fight cards, then have to rebuild them overnight, after injuries, weigh-in issues, or last-minute pullouts. Champions chase super fights, rookies try to skip the line with viral knockouts, and veterans defend not just their legacy, but their checks too. Meanwhile, fans want answers. Fast. Why were these fighters cut? Will those massive legal awards actually get paid in full? Who's next for the champ? The truth, it all depends on health, on timing, on contracts, and on who's ready when the lights hit. When Dana White moves names off the roster, it sends a warning shot through the locker room. When Masvidal and Diaz cash in their court victories, it sends a message that fighters can fight back and win. And when Pereira stays laser-focused at the top, it puts chills through anyone brave enough to come for his belt. Everyone's watching. Everyone's learning. The next big headline could start anywhere. From a missed weigh-in to a surprise short-notice fight call, or a judge's signature that flips a whole case upside down. That's the fight world right now. One door slams shut, another one blasts open, and the chaos never stops. Stick around because the next twist is already coming. What we're watching isn't just another week of headlines. It's a turning point. Fighters are realizing they've got more power than they ever imagined. Promoters are learning that broken promises come with a real price tag. And the UFC, they're proving they're not afraid to make brutal cuts to keep the machine sharp and moving. From Masvidal and Diaz winning big in court to Dana White reshuffling the deck, every move feels louder, heavier, and more important than the last. It's the kind of moment that reshapes MMA from the inside out. The next few months could decide everything: who rises, who gets cut, and who dares to challenge the system itself. And if history's taught us anything, it's that this sport never stays quiet for long. The next bombshell could drop tomorrow. A shocking comeback, a sudden release, or a new deal that flips the whole game. So don't blink, because when the next twist hits, you'll want to be right here to see it all go down. And that is all from Pressure Point today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment, letting us know which story stood out to you most. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.